Hello, sisters. I'm so grateful that your community has agreed to participate in my Doctor of Ministry Preaching Thesis project. I'm really looking forward to being with you and sharing our Dominican life together. I want to take just a couple of minutes to tell you a little about myself and then to also explain the project to you. I'm originally from Royal Oak, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit, and have been a member of the Dominican Sisters of Grand Rapids since 1988. I professed final vows in 1994, and since joining the community, I've been missioned as a pastoral associate in Michigan, as a high school theology teacher in Chicago, and now as co-director at the Collaborative Dominican Novitiate here in St. Louis for the last 6 years. I've also had the opportunity to study, first earning my Master of Divinity at Catholic Theological Union in Chicago in 2006, and now my Doctor of Ministry in Preaching here at Aquinas Institute of Theology in St. Louis. When I entered the community, I knew that OP stood for Order of Preachers, but I had no idea that it had anything to do with my own identity as a preacher. When I was a novice and taking foundations of preaching at Aquinas Institute, I was really struggling and wondering if I was really called to this life as a preacher. And then one night I heard the Lord say to me, "Don't you have a story to tell?" Since that moment, I've embraced my calling as a preacher, and the story has only deepened, such that I embarked on this study program in 2012. I firmly believe that each of us has a story to tell that is a preaching of the life of Christ in our midst. And that's where you come in. I recently had my proposal approved by the DMin committee, so now I can officially begin my project. As you know, I have chosen to focus my project on the preaching of the nuns of the order. The idea came to me, you might say, in a flash, when I was listening to Sister Ann Willits talk about the nuns during an Armchair Lands of Dominic presentation she was giving to the men and women novices here in St. Louis. As she spoke, I found myself wondering, how does each branch lay claim to their identity as preachers in the order? I've had much more experience with the friars and the sisters, and some with the laity and their preaching, but none with the nuns. I asked myself, how do the nuns participate in the preaching mission of the order? In that moment, I knew I had my topic. Our brothers Timothy Radcliffe, Brian Pierce, and Don Gergen were all helpful in directing me to your monastery. So what will be involved with this project? First of all, in order to complete my research, I need to engage in what is called participant observation, which is an ethnographic and cultural anthropological technique that calls for researchers to live within a cultural context in order to participate in its life and observe the behaviors and interactions of the people of that culture. In this instance, I am the researcher, and your monastery is the cultural context. Second, as you know, I've already been in communication with your prioress, who in consultation with her council and with the members of the community has already given permission for this study to take place at your monastery. But I want each of you to know that all participation is completely voluntary. If from the very beginning of the project or at any point along the way, if you decide you don't want to participate, this is fine and no questions will be asked. Also, if you want to participate but remain anonymous, we can make those arrangements as well. Third, the research will take place over a period of no more than 3 weeks and will include my participation and observation in the life of your community, the taking of notes of any conversations, observations, or interactions, and formal and informal interviews which will be recorded. Now, the difference between these two, informal and formal interviews, is that informal is more of a conversation between the two of us. And formal is that I have a set of questions that I ask each one of you. Finally, once I have finished my research, I will share the results with you for clarification. I want to be sure to accurately present your experience and the gift of your life to the order and to the church. Now, there are 2 ways that you can begin to participate in this project before I even arrive at the monastery. The first would be if each of you would be willing to write a short reflection on how you preach, how you share in the preaching mission of the order. The second would be for you to take pictures of the ways that you preach. It would be helpful if you could send those items to me as attachments in an email. So there you go. That's the project. I recognize that I will have much to gain in our exchange, and it will help me to complete my degree. I'm delighted that it will give me the opportunity to interact with another branch of the Dominican family. It is my hope that this study will also be of benefit to you and will be a means of sharing your preaching with the Dominican family. I think it's a great way to be celebrating the Jubilee year of the Order. If you have any further questions, please feel free to talk with your prioress or to contact me directly. My email will be listed at the end of this video. Thank you so much. I can hardly wait to see you this summer.